friends, today on the homestead I am going to show you how we made apple cider vinegar. It's super easy, 2 ingredients, water and apples. And we found these beautiful, amazing apples at Filma Scout Ranch in northern New Mexico. And these guys come right out of the pasture, so they have not been exposed to any type of chemicals at all, which we love. You absolutely can go find organic apples from your local grocer, or if you have a friend that grows apples, that's even better. Making apple cider vinegar has a lot of health benefits that we're super excited about for both humans and animals here on the homestead. I will be taking this daily because apple cider vinegar helps stabilize blood sugar, which is fantastic for anybody who is fasting or wants to make sure that they stay satiated throughout the day longer than if they weren't taking this. So there's another benefit. There's a lot of scientific studies that are being done on apple cider vinegar right now. And a recent study, and I will link this down below, has come out talking about how apple cider vinegar can help you eat less. So if you're going to eat a high carb meal, take some apple cider vinegar first and see if that can help satiate you and eat less calories. I think it said it was about 275 calories per meal that were less that were consumed, which is a huge benefit, right? The other part of taking a fermented food is that you are going to get the benefits of the pH. And what vinegar does is that it creates an environment that bacteria and viruses don't like. And this is wonderful for the chickens that we want to keep parasites away, as well as any upper respiratory infections what they can be prone to, especially in the fall whenever they're molting, because their body is going through stress of losing feathers and creating more feathers. So we're going to add this homemade apple cider vinegar into their water. We're actually going to feed this on a regular basis every time we fill up their water. We're going to start a little bit at a time because it does change the taste of the water, and then we'll up it to the correct ratio. I will also link that down below. So check out this awesome process of making apple cider vinegar, which seriously took me 10 minutes to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is clean out this container, and you really want to make sure that you have a very clean container to start with. The importance of that is that you don't want any foreign bacteria inside that can cause mold or other bad things. So I'm going to make sure the valve is open on this and let some of the hot water and the soapy water go through the valve. And then I'm going to let the water sit for a couple minutes. I'm going to fill it all the way up, and then I'm going to come back and scrub all the surfaces, including the lid. Now that I've given it a good rinse and all the soapy water is out, I'm going to rinse it one more time, and I'm going to open up the valve at the bottom again and just make sure that we get all that soap out. So we're starting with a really clean container. My container is now on the counter, clean and ready to be used. And I have also washed off these apples to make sure that they don't have any extra bacteria that will be harmful. There are some rotten areas because these, of course, are organic apples, so they haven't been sprayed with any pesticides. So some worm damage has occurred. So I will be cutting that out and making sure that it doesn't end up in the finished apple cider vinegar product. So Starstead and I got this antique apple corer and peeler in Cimarron, which is a town outside of Filma Scout Ranch, and I love this. I don't know how old it is. What I love about it is that it's all completely metal. So your newer ones sometimes have plastic components that break, and this one is a beast. I am in love with this. It peels and cores at the same time. So we'll just start here. And these apples, because they are organic and on the smaller side, sometimes the peel doesn't make it all the way through. But that's okay because I don't mind. The peel's going to go in anyway. And see, this one didn't quite make it all the way through the core, but that's all right. Again, we're not going for beauty. These apples are purely for function. So we can tell there's a lot of damage to the core on this apple. So I don't think I'm going to use this piece at all. It's just easier for me to go ahead and feed it to the chickens because I do have so many. And I'll clean off these smaller pieces to make sure that no rotten edges or anything is going in to the container. We're gonna push the core out. A lot of these definitely had the caudal worm, which I think is that white butterfly that you see everywhere. And if you don't get your fruit trees sprayed, that is what happens. And there are some organic, I think they use BT for that worm, and that is an organic pesticide. BT is awesome. It breaks down before it gets into humans, so it doesn't affect you. But I love using stuff that we find that's sustainable. We went to a ranch where the deer were eating these and they were just gonna rot on the ground, and we were able to pick them and use them to make something that is gonna last us through the wintertime and that is beneficial for our animals and for our own health. I think that's a beautiful thing. Definitely goes along with our sustainable and homesteading methods. There we go. That one was much better. The core came off. This is just a gorgeous apple. I think that's why I was able to do that. So I'm going to keep going, and we'll get this thing 3/4 full. It is time for the final step in the process of our apple cider vinegar, and we're gonna add some sugar. And what that's gonna do is feed the yeast, which will make it into an alcohol situation, and then we're gonna take it one step further and make it into a vinegar situation, kind of like kombucha. And if you do form what's called a mother, I know that's the second time that I've mentioned that, it's like a SCOBY. Another name for mother is SCOBY, and it's like, it looked like almost like brown jello that'll sit at the top. And that is all the wonderful bacteria that is forming at the top of your apple cider vinegar or your kombucha. It is very healthy, so don't worry if that is happening. What you don't want is mold. And the mother actually will prevent foreign bacteria from coming in because it wants all this natural goodness for itself. It doesn't like to share, it'll kill it off. So it is a beautiful thing if that forms, and we actually want to promote that. So ours is not going to go in the fridge. We're going to put it into the pantry. So first I'm going to feed it with some sugar. I don't measure, probably a bad habit, and also why I'm not a baker, but I will link down below to tell you how much sugar you're supposed to add, because you really don't want it to have extra sugar at the end, because that is calories, and that's not what we're doing. But with the amount of water that's in here and not quite a full cup of sugar, I think we're going to be just fine. The last thing I'm going to do is add some cheesecloth, and I love cheesecloth. We use it around the homestead quite a bit. When we pull off our sunflower heads at the end of the season, when we're still letting them dry and we don't want the birds to get them, we lay them out flat, and then we put some cheesecloth around it. There's just tons of things that this is good for. But one of those is to put a lid on the kombucha, because you do want it to be an aerobic situation, which means it's going to have oxygen. You want it to have access to oxygen for this part. And then in a couple weeks, we're going to come back. We're going to strain off all of the apple parts, feed those to the chickens, and then keep the liquid. And I actually made 2 vats of this. So when that happens, I'll be able to pour them down to one, and then we'll let them sit again for another 2 to 4 weeks with the lid on, and that is what is going to cause the alcohol to turn into vinegar, and that's what we want, those wonderful healthy attributes of having the pH be a vinegar. So thank you so much for tuning in. I will definitely do a follow-up video when we're all the way through the process and we have the vinegar, so you can check it out. I'll tell you the good and the bad. The last thing that I want to mention before I go is I went out to our field spigot and grabbed water to fill this. Ideally, you would want to grab purified water because it won't have anything in it. We have really hard water, so I know I added that. But if I would have grabbed the water from inside, it's on our water softener system, and we use salt in our system or potassium. We kind of go back and forth between them. But I don't want that added in here. I want it as pure as possible. The other thing with the sugar is, get organic sugar. this is a health benefit to your body. I'm not all organic all the time, but when it comes to health remedies and things that you have a little bit more control of the ingredients that you can put in, take the time, the little bit of extra money, because honestly, that's the only thing we had to buy in this situation. Do it. I'm excited. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and we'll see you next time.